Welcome to the Living Superhuman Fitness Podcast, where we take you inside our gym, CrossFit Palm Beach, each week. It's here that we are creating new superhumans every day, transforming people's lives, helping them reach a level of health they never knew possible. We strive to answer your most burning questions on fitness, health, nutrition, training, motivation, mindset, lifestyle, and more. If you have a question, please email us at info@crossfitpalmbeach.com. You can also learn more on our blog, livingsuperhuman.com. And if you have a moment, we'd love a review from you on iTunes. All right, it's time. Let's stop being average and start living superhuman. Hey guys, welcome to the Living Superhuman Fitness Podcast. My name is Andrew Frezza, and I'm joined today by
Whitney Stephenson.
Dominic.
And today we're going to be talking to Coach Whitney about her experience at regionals, what it took to get there, how she felt like she did during the regionals, what things she would do better the next time, and just learn more about how it went for her. So we're going to start off, we're going to dive in and just talk to Whitney a little bit about where did it all start for you? What was your athletic background like before CrossFit, and how did you even find CrossFit?
Okay, so I was a swimmer. I was a swimmer all my life in high school, and then I did a bunch of sports growing up. I did basketball, I did cross country, I did swimming, I did gymnastics, I did soccer until I got kicked out. And then
What happened there?
I broke a girl's shin guard, an accident. And anyway, so I got a little bit better at swimming, and that was like my main focus kind of when I entered high school. So I swam all through high school, year round, and then got a scholarship, went to college basically to swim, and then ended up swimming, and then swam through college, and then swam up until Olympic trials in 2012. So that was sort of like my pinnacle of my swimming. Like I was probably training my best, but then also like I got to this point where like basically I was faced with this position of, all right, you aren't a professional athlete technically, but you're an adult, so you need to figure out if you want to like get a job or figure out a way to continue to swim. And I kind of just was like, all right, I'm going to get a job now and do the normal life thing. So I stopped swimming, I stopped working out basically in general, because I didn't know how to work out without training. Like I didn't understand working out to like be healthy. And I remember like being in the gym, like trying to do like a Stairmaster and like crying because I like was like, I don't understand this. And then kind of just gave up on the gym, and I was working at Lululemon. And so I did a bunch of yoga with these girls that I worked with at Lululemon, and just had an awesome time kind of growing with that company. And some of the girls suggested that I do CrossFit because I was like competitive in my job. Like I compete all the time. It's kind of annoying, and people pick that up about me. So they thought, like, a couple of the girls encouraged me to try CrossFit, and there happened to be one pretty close to my house that I could ride my scooter to. So started riding my scooter to this CrossFit gym, and actually signed up. It was the end of February 2013. So the first week of the Open was my first day at CrossFit. So my coach at the time was like, you're doing the Open, I don't care what you say. So he signed me up for the Open, and we ended up sending a team to regionals that year. So like 3 months later, I went to regionals as a member of a team. I learned how to do a muscle up during warm up at regionals, which I ended up never even getting to do in the workout just because of the way the workout was structured, and I was kind of relieved about that. But yeah, I was learning a lot of things on the fly, and that was sort of the beginning of my CrossFit journey. And Mike, we can dance to the music.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
A word from our sponsors. Anyway, so it was actually really fortunate for me to kind of like be thrown into CrossFit in like that highly competitive environment, because I identified with it a lot more than kind of maybe just going to a local competition or even just training in the gym. Like I was in an environment that I was super familiar with because it was right along up there with like some of my last swim meets, like US Nationals and Olympic trials. Like I felt that same environment and I loved it. I was like, yes, like this is something I can see myself doing. And I didn't really like start training full time. I just did the class an hour a day. And then I did a little bit of extra work on my own. Like I would just make up some of the dry land stuff that I used to do for swimming and go in and add that on to stuff. But I was still working full time, a manager at Lululemon, training probably 4 to 5 days a week, an hour, 90 minutes a day, pretty much up until I moved here, which was in the fall of 2015. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. I didn't realize that you started the Open that first week and you were on a team a couple months later. Most people cannot expect to do that. So cool. Let's fast forward just a little bit. And it's I think it's worthwhile to point out, it's a very big difference between qualifying as a team and qualifying as an individual, especially now. And I mean, that's amazing that you could be good enough to be on a team.
Yeah, I mean,
first couple weeks.
There were good, like, I was the weakest member of the team. Like, there were definitely people on that team who, like, brought our scores up, and I just happened to be that, like, third girl who kind of snuck in there to kind of keep the team together, I guess. So it wasn't like I was a big contribution to the gym. Mm-hmm. I just kind of was able to, like, fill in a spot.
Cool. So you kind of migrate more to more of an individual this year. That's what you qualify this year. And the previous year in the Open, you were 62nd in the Open. This year, you went all the way up to 22nd and made it into that qualifying spot. What was the difference between those, that last year and then this year in terms of qualifying? How has your like focus changed, and like what does it take to get to that point?
Well, I mean, definitely my training evolved. I would say like from last year to this year, but I wouldn't say that the training is what took me to 22nd place. I would say that more of just like my mental work and dedication and just kind of like what I was devoting my life to and what I made like priorities in my life was way different than a year ago. I would say like a year ago, I had more of like a mindset of things would happen to me and I would be in this like victim role. Like my dad got really sick, I was living with my mom, like I had all these other things, I quit my job, like I couldn't see like the responsibility for where my responsibility in all those just, decisions, I guess. So, and that mindset was like in the gym, like, why can't I get better at this? I'm in this place, I was such a good athlete, why am I not, doing, being number 30 in the country when I was at this other sport. So I had this like mentality of just like a lot of frustration and being kind of like a victim. And as my training evolved and I knew that this was something that I wanted to do, my mindset had to change. Like I realized that like I'm holding myself back more than I think, and basically the way I'm thinking is holding myself back. So I kind of just made a commitment and like devoted myself to kind of like changing my mindset with everything outside of the gym as well as what's going on in the gym, and kind of just growing up a little bit. I had to grow up, and by doing that, I think that kind of catapulted me forward a lot more. I was able to kind of tap into some of my physical potential more than I was like a year ago, because I was holding myself back.
Yeah, they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
What are some things that you noticed, Dom? You did her programming for most of the year last year and work with her. How did you see her kind of evolve throughout the year?
Well, I mean, from the program like standpoint, we started off super basic, and like everything she learned up in that point, we stripped it down and went back to the beginning. And in doing that, I felt like that was gonna help her kind of free her mind a little bit more. And as we got closer to the Open and toward more like Wadapalooza, toward different things, we ramped it up a little bit more until finally getting into the Open time when a lot of things changed outside of the gym. Like Whitney was saying, like you could see her mindset doing it. She did that kind of all on her own. I tried to do it in her program as we got through, like doing more things that just absolutely suck that no one wants to do, and that she doesn't like doing at all. Like, she hates to do it, but you could see where she's like, oh, I gotta do this today, gross. And then like as the open came, it was like, oh, you want me to do this? Okay. Oh, this? All right, let's do this. And then she's like, can I do this? And I'm like, whoa, what? You never want to do this. And it was just cool to see that change. And then when the regional thing actually became whole, because she didn't make it into the top 20, she was just outside of it. When that happened, another switch was changed and got even more. It was, I don't know, it was such a fast, it was like this long, took kind of a long period, like almost a full year to get that first little mental switch. And then the open came, a switch happened, the open ended, and we're like in limbo for a little bit. And then it was like, okay, this monster switch was just changed, and this is a whole new human being in front of me. And I was like, the way that all kind of happened was not by plan. It just happened. It was amazing. And I think like that was just based on her background, just how to do that. And she kind of, like she said, she grew up a little bit, and I saw that, especially looking back on it. But I saw it like when we stepped into that arena. I was like, this is not the same person that was here last year at all.
We saw that same thing too from the stands. You could tell the difference for sure. I know one of the turning points for you was the competitors training camp at the end of January. How did that play in? What were some of the big takeaways for you with that, Whitney?
I mean, just like some of the concepts of like what confidence is. Like, confidence isn't necessarily thinking you're like going to go out and like dominate and, you know, you're feeling so good about beating other people, but knowing your game plan and knowing that you're going to stick to it or do your best to stick to it, and that you are going to give everything you have in that moment, and you can do that. And I struggle with that a lot because I would have problems like staying present, and so I never thought that I could give everything I had because I was never in the moment to give everything I had. I was always thinking about the end result, even doing a workout. So just working more on that gave me a little bit more confidence, and like just redefining that word and being able to kind of apply it to my daily training. And then also things like mental toughness. Like, the definition of mental toughness before the competitive excellence camp to me was sort of like, how tough are you? Can you like work out to throw up? Like, can you like grin and bear it? And, you know, mental toughness isn't necessarily that. Like, that might be a small aspect of it, but mental toughness to me now is like being able to be dedicated to a state of mind that I want to be in all the time. So like being present takes mental toughness for me because I don't like to be present. I want to be all over the place. So going home and practicing meditation and reading and figuring out how I can become more present in moments throughout the day, to me takes mental toughness. It's a discipline that not everyone has, and I don't think that I necessarily just had it, but it's something that I identified with, that I could keep practicing at, and so something I still practice today.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily something that becomes easier over time. It just, I think it becomes more natural over the time, and for me, it's something I want. I know when I'm like kind of scattered and not being present in the moment, and I know when I need to kind of get back to that now. Yeah,
it's almost like mental toughness goes from something that you hope you can tap into on game day to something that you can work on in any given moment now.
Yeah.
And you don't have to wait to work on it, which is cool. So let's talk a little bit about the actual competition itself. I think kind of what Dom hit on, we saw that evolution happen. Like, I mean, if you look at just kind of the leaderboard stuff, which you don't pay too much attention, you kind of just barely make it into regionals, but then once you're at regionals, you're, right up there in many of the events and have a great finish, finished 24th out of 40 women. So definitely showed that, you deserve to be on that floor. And your best finish was one of my favorite moments of the weekend, finishing 6th on event 3, that longer chipper that went up and down with like the dumbbell lunges and rope climbs and all that stuff. So what was like your assessment just of like the overall weekend, your performance, and just how much you enjoyed it?
I enjoyed it. I remember getting there and checking in with you on Thursday and being like, all right, like this is the place. Like this is where I want to be, and I was really happy. I had to make like a really hard decision to go as an individual. That was really hard for me, just kind of making that decision. And like at the end of the day, I know that was the right choice to make. And especially when I got there on Thursday, I felt like really good, and I just felt prepared, and I felt like kind of like it was just, I was confident in that like I was just gonna like do my thing and not be concerned with other things happening. And the first 2 days it felt really good, but I think that like when I look back, I didn't know how much this new kind of mindset was gonna take out of me. So because these things aren't easy for me, it's not easy for me to ignore everyone else going on. Like, yeah, I did it, but it kind of, even just ignoring other people, like takes a little bit out of me mentally, because that's sort of my old habit. Like an old behavior would be to go talk to people and, socialize, and kind of maybe, they're upset about a judge and me kind of being like trying to console them, but yet prepare for my workout. And I didn't do any of that. I just was like very focused on me and what I was doing in my warm-ups. I had my notebook. I like wrote warm-ups for every one of my workouts, and Dom and I just kind of like every time we were in the warm-up arena doing our thing. And I think by the third day, so Sunday morning, I had a little bit more taken out of me mentally, emotionally, physically than I had anticipated. So I woke up that day just not feeling like myself, but I didn't really want to give it any life, so I just kind of like kept doing the same thing that I had been doing the first 2 days. And the cards fell where they did, and I still like left feeling like I gave it everything I had, but like I know that I have more in me. So
people underestimate, not that we underestimate or you underestimate, but it's just hard to replicate that in training, that intensity, because from a volume standpoint, if you look at 6 workworkouts over 3 days, it
doesn't seem like a lot.
And what the workouts were,
right?
Yeah.
It's not a big deal,
right? Nothing on paper looks, incredibly scary or overwhelming, but then you do it at that intensity in that setting, and it takes a lot out of you. And that third day, like you said, you woke up just like what happened to me.
Yeah.
Well, and being from outside of her mind and just trying to help her get through that, you could see it. And it was her day 1 face was like, she was gearing, she was ready to go. Mm-hmm. Day 2 was, I think, even more. I was like, this is perfect. This is exactly how we planned it out. Mm-hmm. We're good. And then as the day, like day 1 and day 2 went on, like she said, there's a lot of things happening in that warm-up area. Like the warm-up area is as big as this here. It's tiny.
Yeah.
And then you fit all the women and all the men in there, and then you fit CrossFit HQ walking around recording everyone and talking to Ben Smith and all these big name people, and then we're trying to sneak around and do our crossover symmetry. We can only have one side because they're doing wall balls here, and like it was like a mess. And like it sounds like silly, but like that takes a lot. You have to plan to do that. You're like, Whitney stuck to her routine. When you have Emily Bridgers, an amazing athlete, going to the game, like she's incredible. She did some like arm swings. She went like this a couple times, some good mornings, and then she was good to go. And did a couple rounds of the workout, good to go. Like she didn't, like our warm up is very different. So trying to do that while having the heat before you come up to you and talk to you and tell you what went wrong and all this stuff. Oh, you should be fine. You're gonna be good enough to I can't imagine that. Like me here, I'm like, all right, shut up, get away from us. And then seeing her, and I could see her in her face like this. I'm like, okay, let's go warm up. And just seeing that, and you can tell that ends up taking pieces of you, no matter what. However you normally are in a mental state anyways, even if you're super strong-minded, if you're just gonna be around that at all times, it's gonna be hard. So we did try to distance ourselves, but that last day was just like, the wake up was different, everything was different. We entered the arena, everything just went a little bit differently, and it's hard to kind of say what it was. It was like the end of the weekend, and from my standpoint, I've never done anything like that. She hasn't in the CrossFit realm, so it was just like everything was like, this is a long weekend.
Yeah.
This is a lot.
But I think overall it was super successful, and I think there was a lot of things from we talk about like competitive excellence that you did really well. So I wanted to touch on some of those things. One of the things that you did really well was ignore the leaderboard. So can you talk about how much you looked at the leaderboard, or when you actually knew where you finished?
Just now, you told me that what place I got. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't look at the leaderboard. It wasn't important to me in that, like, I feel like I know myself enough to where when I give my best performance, it shouldn't matter where I fall on the leaderboard. And like, I really learned that in the Open, because I was so used to, checking and seeing where this person got, seeing where I got, and just diminishing my work and not feeling proud of what I've done. And I don't want to do that. Like, I want to be proud of what I've done and move forward and, have that, like, I don't know, celebrate the small wins, celebrate those little victories. And I think that was something I never did in swimming. I was constantly comparing. I knew what time I needed to go. And swimming, the leaderboard was a little different in that, like, as I got better, it wasn't necessarily me beating other people, but me trying to get a certain time. So I always had this time that I was trying to get, and always comparing my time to this time. So now I have the opportunity to not necessarily do that, to like just shut it off and assess my effort and like what went on in the workout for me. And so yeah, I'm one of those people, the leaderboard doesn't work for me. Like some people it does, and it doesn't, and like I'm okay with that now. It's still something I have to practice, because that's like a thing, like you want to go see where you stack up, but I know that overall it doesn't really benefit me. It doesn't make me a better person or a better athlete, so I don't really need to do that. And yeah, that was the first time I found out what place I got overall.
Oh, congratulations.
I think that Dominic told me what place I got in that one event, because we were just excited about it. It was cool. Yeah, but I mean, even in that event, like I finished the event, and like I kind of knew at one point that I was leading the heat, but like at another point I sort of was blacking out and just trying to focus on, all right, I need to, lunge across this line, and don't forget you have to take your dumbbell across the line. Like, there was small things like that in regionals you kind of have to like remember. So for me, there wasn't any room to think about like, I'm winning. And so when I like heard the announcer say it, or when I looked down the aisle, that's why I was like so happy doing happy seal claps that I like actually did it. But I was more happy that I actually just like stuck to my plan. Like if you watch that workout, I probably am not even on the screen until the end, because like I knew everyone was going to take off a little bit quicker than me, and I knew where I would make up my ground, and just kind of like stuck to that, and it ended up happening. So
yeah, that was awesome.
That was the best thing ever. From my standpoint, that was like the most well executed plan. Like talking about going in with a plan, we went in with a plan. We did that workout in the plan that we had like 4 times, like the plan of it. We did that entire workout a couple times and broke it all up to how we would best like to see her do this, and she did it so, minus the trip at the end.
Yeah,
she did it so great. Like it was amazing. Like I was so excited, and I didn't care. Like the finish was amazing. I was so happy she did that. That was amazing. That was so good. But it was more just like, she did it to a T, and everyone's watching this girl who was on the rope climbs so fast. She did not ever get off the rope climbs either. She stayed there. She never finished that workout. But like, Whit's sitting here and I'm counting the wall balls. I was like, that's a set. Good. Drop it. Move to the next one. And it was just like, it was so exact to the plan. And then she got faster, which was not part of the plan. Like that was just what happens, because that's what she does. And then it went so nicely. And just worked so well, and like that for me was incredible to see that, especially from what we've been working on. Like that was to the T. Best thing a coach can see is something like that happen. Like that was so cool.
Yeah, it was great. Even from the stands, you could tell. I made the comment to a few people that were watching next to me that like Whitney looks like a professional, and a lot of the other people look like amateurs. Mm-hmm. And there's even top athletes that are making the games that still are not executing. They don't have a game plan that they're executing to a T, and Whitney's doing that. And I think it was obvious in there, you know, see people sprint down the lunges and then just blow up on the rope climbs in a 15-minute workout is just, you know, to me it's kind of mind-boggling. But then you see Whitney just execute her game plan and finish that workout just done, everything she's got, like timed it out right at the end. It was perfect.
Yeah.
It was really cool to see.
I mean, I think that's also like the mental toughness. Like that's the mental toughness that I like. Like I know that when I'm doing that I'm mentally tough, and that the people that are looking over and sprinting with this next person, and I have to beat this person, and I have to be, you know, a certain place in your heat, like, you know, that's not mental toughness. That's like buying into, you know, the environment or whatever else is going on. That's not, you know, sticking to your plan for your best performance. And I think it takes a lot to do that. Like a lot of people don't, or not a lot of people, but I guess
it's hard.
Some of the athletes don't recognize that that is being mentally tough, you know, like, and that was huge for me, just kind of being able to define that, and not mentally tough being like, well, I'm going to beat you on the lunges, or I'm going to race you, you know, for 75% of this workout, and then I have nothing left. And they're looking at, they have nothing left being where they're weak, but really where they were weak was when they decided to race the person next to them. Mm-hmm. And so like, that was a huge shift for me, and like, again, still working on it, but it's something that I love. I love that. I love that challenge, and I think that if you can start to implement that in all aspects of your life, it's going to help translate to being a better competitor.
Cool. Can you talk a little bit more about how hard it is to stay positive in that like back area, and like, you know, things that come up in a competition, say like judges or equipment, or like having to bring your dumbbell across the line? How many of those little things it's easy to get like sort of negative about?
I mean, there's so much that goes on. And like, I just looked at it all, I tried to just look at it all as, no matter what happens, like the way I handle it is like what matters. So if I get no reps because I throw my sandbag out of my lane on the final event, it doesn't matter. It's the way I handle it. If I like turn around at the judge and scream at him or her or whatever, and you know,
it doesn't help you.
Go berserk. It hurts me. It takes away time, that I'm not focused. So I just was like, take every rep, every moment, everything, like take it in stride. And again, that was part of my plan from the beginning. But like, there's things you don't plan for. Like, you arrive to the warm-up arena and you see 5 teams yelling at each other, you know, people, you know, bad-mouthing judges because of their experience with the worm. You see, you know, Kiki Dixon like screaming, and like the whole energy of the room is like crazy, but yet you have, you know, some negativity going on as well, and you're battling all of that like as soon as you enter the arena. So you can be totally easily, you know, sucked into that. Like, there's people coming up to me being like, oh, you made individual? I didn't know. I'm never doing that. It's too hard. Like, immediate, like, I'm not even joking. Like, dead serious. Like, you get there and
injuries was another big one.
Yeah, like a lot of injuries are happening, and like nothing is happening. Like, I feel like I was in a state where nothing was happening to me. Like, all this stuff was happening, and I could choose how I wanted to respond to it or deal with it. And I think like a year ago, all of this would have been happening to me. I would have been mad at, you know, seeing this, and this would have affected me, and I would have been, you know, I heard about the 5 pec tears, you know, in the men's heats that went before me, so I got scared on that workout, and like, it would have been these things happening to me versus me just handling myself and not letting this outside stuff affect me, because like Ben talks about, you know, I can't control that stuff. So if I can't control it, I don't have any business dealing with it. All I can control is, you know, how I'm gonna perform in that moment, you know, for that workout or for that warm up. So it was really kind of like, as quick as the day was, we were only there for like 4 hours,
we didn't
5
even
hours.
Sit in the arena.
Yeah, like as quick as it was, like some of that time just felt so long, like in the arena, just because you're kind of battling these other things, and you're trying to kind of just stay so focused in the moment that it kind of like draws out the time a little bit more. I feel like we were there for so long, and we were there 3 days, like feels like a year.
No eating, we're sitting there like,
Yeah.
we normally eat, I eat every hour, and like I'm like, I haven't eaten in 3 days, it feels like. But like, you know what, we had that seminar with Ben, and he talks about like the not being able to control things, and you hear it and you understand it 100%. You're like, yeah, of course, that makes sense, I know this. But then when you're in that moment and you're like, holy crap, there is seriously only like a few things that you can control, and like they're the obvious things. But like the last workout, everyone's exhausted, no one wants to do this last workout, everyone's tired, I'm tired, like I don't want, like I have to figure out how to make this work in the warm area, and I'm like, there's 4 assault bikes for 100 athletes to warm up on right now. It's like, how are we gonna do this? How does that make sense? And it, like, just like little things like that, it's like, there's only 4 assault bikes? Come on, Rogue, what's going on? Come on, assault bike. Like, but like that stuff, like that is gonna happen. Like you have this, like I said, tiny arena to warm up in. It actually was this big. This is how big the warm up space was. Mm-hmm. And to think about that for everyone to train at, to warm up on, is crazy. So like that was like the biggest thing, is like trying to find room to get ready. It's crazy.
Yeah. So let's talk about like social media, staying off your phone. How did you approach that leading up to regionals, and then once you were there?
Well, I kind of started, I guess, in like around the open time. I don't know, like social media is so easy, especially like Instagram or Facebook. You kind of get like sucked in. You want to see what other people are up to, and I kind of had to like do a self-assessment of like, all right, why am I doing that? Like, am I really interested in this stranger that I've never met, like her performance, or am I like stacking myself up to her, comparing myself? And I discovered that most of the time when I'm looking at other people, it was not making me better. Like I was either looking at somebody who was failing and thinking like, oh, well, I'm better than them, or looking at somebody who's doing something great and thinking like, well, they're so much better than me. And like, none of that is good for me. Like, I can genuinely be happy for other people, but not on Instagram. Like, I don't know why, I just can't. Like, I just feel like I just am constantly in that place, just like the leaderboard, where I'm comparing people, or comparing myself to people. So I chose to kind of like, you know, during the open, not look at my phone. Or if I was looking at my phone, I was looking at like home goods or other things that like made me happy, that I was interested in, that wasn't necessarily performance related, it wasn't necessarily CrossFit related, just because I thought like what I was doing was not helping me. And then when I got to regionals, I think like Wednesday night, I just deleted my social media. I just deleted the apps. I deleted my Facebook, I deleted my Instagram. I just was like, I'm going dark. Like,
Zero dark 30.
Yeah, 0 dark 30. Like, and I just figured like, why not? Why not? Like, there's no reason for me to post. It takes me out of the moment. If anyone is going to be posting, it's going to be all of these people here at the gym here that are supporting me, and like, they're going to be sharing enough information for like, you know, the people who couldn't see me to see me, and that would be the only reason why I would want to post something. So I figured that was taken care of, and like I had no real reason to post anything, so I had no real reason to keep my social media on my phone. Just like take it off. Like, you don't need that distraction. So I did, and I think it helped me a lot. Just because it helped me just stay in the moment. It helped me just stay connected to what I was doing and my purpose there, and there was no real distractions for me.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So let's start to wrap this up a little bit. If you could change anything about this past performance, what would you change? Or maybe just looking forward to next year, what are you going to do differently going into next year, if anything? And that question's to you too as well.
I mean,
from the coaching standpoint.
I don't know like that I would change anything. Like, I think that I learned so much that I don't want it to be any different, because if I changed it, then I wouldn't have learned all the things that I've learned, and I wouldn't have this amazing base to train this next year, and not only like to train myself, but to help train other people. So I wouldn't change anything. Like I'm completely okay with how everything happens. Like I think one of the things I learned was just how things affect me, and just becoming to know myself a little bit better, and being in touch with what makes me feel a certain way, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Like how much things take out of me. So I didn't realize like all of this like mental preparation and focus was going to leave me exhausted on Sunday. And so there's certain things, like I talked to my chiropractor about, like how do I keep my nervous system healthy? How do I keep, my mind healthy? How do I stay on fire basically, or like on point for 3 days of like high intensive training for long periods of time. So there's things like that I'm learning, and then now I can like implement in my training to kind of assist me in this next coming year. So I just like, now that I have all this knowledge, I want to like start practicing it. And I think one of the things I just encountered doing today was like, when I find myself slipping up or not doing it, I like beat myself up about it. And so that's obviously something that I don't want to do either. So as much as I learn and I want to, practice all of this, I want to stay, positive at the same time. So, and not be so serious about it. So I like, I don't know, I just want to, I don't really know what I'm saying anymore. I've lost it.
Cool. All right, well, Dom, what do you think you'll do differently with
just
her?
from this, like I said, I know how to program up until day after, or the ending of the Open, and then we restart. That's all I've ever done, programming wise. And like this time, like I had to, when the Open was over, I was like, oh no, we have to do different things now. Like we don't have to train for the Open. Like we could go to, like she could go to regionals. Like, I don't know how to do that. So like I did a lot of research and asked around to people that I know have been in that situation many times. But now that I've been through that and seen that, and it was a lot easier than I thought, but there's still obviously, like, I didn't do it perfectly, and I had a ton of help. It was really nothing to do with me. And a lot of us, it was me and her talking, like, let's do it this way. It was kind of our shared idea with knowledge behind it, obviously. But this year going forward, just really, we want to get Whit stronger. Like, that's everyone, get stronger, But, that is our solid focus. But one thing I personally been trying to work on for her and for her program is I have a general idea of where the direction I want to go in the template, and we talked about this. We had a meeting before we got into this next season. But also not being afraid to allow something to kind of go off a little bit, especially right now. Before, I'm like, no, you do ABC and ABC, and you do this all the way to Z, like A, B, C, D through Z every day, and this is what we do, and don't change it. And now, like, I'm trying to let a lot more happen, because, like, why not? Like, it's not, like, there's more we're training for now, and, like, there's a bigger goal now, so we need to kind of just be slightly ready, still have that same path, but not being afraid to let it go astray a little bit, to see what happens. And if it goes astray too much, pull it back. And a thing that literally it just happened before this, Whit did something that was not programmed for her yesterday. Her squats didn't go great today, and she was like, damn, like, I'm upset right now. And it's like, it's okay. Like, it's week 3. Like, it's all right. And we move on from it. We learn and we move on, So it's like trying to really be in the moment with that, and trying to allow myself to do that, because that's hard for me to do, is just kind of let go a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially because she knows what she's doing, and I just am here to kind of say no.
Yeah, you're almost like giving her a little off season with some things. Not everything. You still want to move the main pieces forward, but you're not peaking right now for that main competition. So this is great. I just wanted to kind of wrap things up with, it seems like the biggest thing is the mental side for you, Whitney. That's like kind of the biggest change. Besides like the comp train camp and some of the things that we talked about, is there any like resources or things that you're doing that you feel like are helpful for any competitive athlete or athlete that you're utilizing in your training?
I think like my biggest resource that I use is probably like, other than all of the coaches here, is the Headspace, like the Headspace app. I use it every day. So that'd be like the one like outside resource I use. Other than that, I think that like, I don't know, just like trying to be a little bit more in tune with yourself. And like, I don't know, like one of my goals was, you know, going forward this whole year is to maximize like every single day, like every single training day. And, sorry, I'm just messing with the microphone. And I think that like, I don't know, like you can take that one way or the other, but sometimes I think maximizing it might mean like you're having fun one day, or like you're hanging out with your friends, or you're maybe not going to the gym and you're taking care of your recovery. And so I think like being able to redefine the word maximize and like redefine like intensity, whether it's like in the gym or how you're recovering, and looking at that all year round is something that has really helped me, and I think it will continue to help me. It's something that I'm going to continue to try to do for the rest of my life. So
cool.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say or add?
I don't know.
All right, that's it.
See you in 2018.
See ya.
All right, thanks guys.